We are live, Saints fans. Unfortunately, the season is over, but as we always are here on a Monday night, we'll continue to provide Saints content right through all the way to the off season. But yeah, a big welcome, and as you can tell, Jordan's not with me tonight, so please give a big warm welcome to Ari. Ari, how are you doing tonight, and how did you get involved with Saints TV?
Thanks, Max. Thanks for having me. I'm doing all right. Could have been doing better, pending a result on Saturday, but that's okay. We'll talk about it tonight. I got involved with Saints TV earlier this year. I've been watching Jake for years now. Love what he does. Love what you guys do as well on Saints TV Live. Yeah, I've just been involved behind the camera, helping bring some of the more the videos set on location to life, I'll say. So. Yeah, no, it's been good fun, and yeah, super excited to talk about the Saints tonight.
Yeah, awesome. So we'll get it kick-started. We might not go straight into the GWS review just yet. We'll briefly touch upon the AFLW girls. For those who didn't see, unfortunately did go down to Essendon at Windy Hill on the weekend. 6 goals, 440 for Essendon versus 4-4-28 for us. And Lambert really was the star of the Saints. The Saints did compete all day, but she had 26 touches, 6 clearances and a goal. So yeah, she was the standout. Ari, was there anyone else sort of to note through this game?
Yeah, I thought Tyna Smith was good, as well as Georgia Patrikios. Definitely both had noteworthy games. But I mean, it was a valiant effort from the whole team. I thought an improved performance from the North Melbourne result, which, putting it in perspective now, I think North Melbourne won by 10 or so goals on the weekend, which kind of puts that in perspective of how good a side they are. But yeah, I think it was a valiant effort by the girls, and hopefully we can get a W next to our name next week.
Yeah, exactly right. It was much improved, and hopefully we just keep seeing that progression week to week. So yeah, as Ari did say, guys, this Sunday it is a home game. So please, if you can, get down. RSCA Park 105 on the Sunday Arvo. So I think that's the 7th of September. And it's a very winnable game. We played 17th place Port Power. So yeah, hopefully we get a big attendance. Hopefully 6,000-7,000 Sainers down there. And more of the AFLW content to come with Marshy on the AFLW Saints TV podcast, which will hopefully drop sometime this week. And on that note, we will get into a bit of a GWS review. So, Sainers, let us know how you feel about the game. I know some of us might be feeling a little bit cheated, but I think as Guy has put it perfectly here, we're here on another Monday night, but it was a great season. Lots of positives to come from this year. Yeah, what do you think about that, Ari?
Yeah, I agree. Definitely lots of positives to come from the year. I think most Saints fans I've seen online and just that I've talked to have pretty good perspective on the year. I think no one, including a lot of Saints fans, were expecting us to finish in the top 8 at all, let alone to play a home final in front of, pretty much 70,000 Saints fans. So I think that in itself is great. The performance itself, I mean, we'll get into it. It was pretty disappointing for me. I think we left a bit out there. Even though, yeah, not to say that it was a terrible performance. We definitely had worse this year. We played valiantly, but I think I read an article on AFL.com where Sinclair was sort of saying that the team has a few regrets and they are pretty disappointed looking back on that performance. But ultimately, yeah, it was a great year. But I would just put it out to the boys to say it'll mean nothing if you don't build from this. You got to use this as a foundation to move forward, because if you look at the 2020 finals, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but I think that final series has lost a lot of its impact on me, because I felt like we didn't do a lot with that going forward. 2021 and 2022 was sort of disappointing. So going forward, I'm just really hoping that we actually use this as a platform to get the success that we want, whether that's finishing top 4 next year or just another finals berth. But success isn't completely linear. It might be a bit non-linear, but overall, yeah, let's just use this as a weapon going forward and continue to chart in the right direction, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that statement about the 2020 finals sort of campaign, it doesn't have any sort of correlation to it because, as you said, we stepped backwards in 2021 and 2022. And you look at the players that played in that 2020, like we had Shane Savage, Jaron Geary,
Yeah.
Dean, Jack Loney. Like there's half the list.
Jonathan Marsh. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's no sort of correlation. And then those guys that did play, so the Steel, Kings of the World, Sinclair, I think even played that Dogs final. They were all it was all in the Gabba. It wasn't in front of Saints fans. It was a very weird year. So I don't think it was nice to have that sort of in 2020, but yeah, it's not sort of this is its only separate era of Saints footy. And we will touch on some of the good things because I think had the season have gone one more game longer, with Rowan Marshall's performance, 37 disposals, 7 scoring involvements, 22 contested possessions and a goal, you would think he would have been starting All-Australian ruckman the way he played on the weekend.
I mean, I think he should have been anyway, to be honest. I didn't see Tim English feature in September at all, but that's okay. Rowan was just immaculate on Saturday. He was definitely best on from a Saints perspective, at least. And I think Kieran Briggs, is that the name of the Giants ruckman?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good battle all day. I think Briggs was brought the heat as well, but Marshall is just seriously dominant across the ground, and I don't recall him really moving forward. I think he kicked a goal maybe in the second quarter, but yeah, he was dominant and very important for us in a game where some of our other All-Australian caliber players probably didn't stand up the way we would have hoped. Yeah,
agreed. And then it was a great ruck battle, probably one of the best of the season, I reckon. They just two giants going at it. And I've just seen this comment here, which is literally the next guy we're about to talk about. Rebecca, that's Kane Corns, scratching for headlines because, Kane Corns can't do his job properly.
Yeah.
No, you do not trade your captain, especially after he's just had 38 disposals, 6 score involvements, 18 contested possessions at 82% disposal efficiency. I think the only thing that was missing from Steele's game on the weekend was his tackling prowess, but I guess no one on the team really tackled, as we'll go on in the negatives. But it was good to see Steele stand up in what was otherwise a pretty depleted midfield.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was one of Steele's better games for the year. I think what makes him who he is being that grunt player on the inside who gets 10 tackles a game, and I don't want to hold him to a ridiculous expectation every week because some players have off weeks and that's fine. But the reason he's our skipper is because he leads by example, and that's what we all love about him so much. So it was a very valiant performance from him. I was very happy with it, but yeah, I would have liked to have seen him be a bit more damaging with ball in hand. I think, I don't know, don't quite mix. I don't know the exact stat, but I think 20 something of his 38 touches were handballs. Which that is what he does. He's in and under, but I would love to see him maybe add to his game just to be a bit more damaging with the ball kicking inside 50 or getting us out of trouble.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like especially players like Paddy Cripps, he's probably the only player, even though I'm not a big fan of him, he's the only player in the competition that probably gets away with handballing it double or triple the amount of times as you do kicking it, just because of how effective those handballs are. Whereas, I think you're right. Still needs to be more damaging by foot, but then his other element is tackling, and I think he might be able to take something away from what Rory Laird's been able to produce this year. He's played very similar, not to the same level, but very similar how Jack Steele played 21 and 22. Moving on, just quickly on Brad Hill and Cooper Sharman. I think they were the only two that really, really competed. Brad Hill, 29 disposals, 560 metres gained, which was a team high, and 2 goals. Cooper Sharman as well, just only one that looked like a genuine threat in our forward line. 2 goals, 4 contested marks, and 6 inside 50s, which was a team high. So them two as well, they really had solid performances that they can hold their head high over.
Absolutely, yeah, both of them were fantastic too. Hill's 2 goals were great. They both sort of felt like making something out of nothing. The second one was a set shot, so probably not that one. But the first one felt like something out of nothing, and he just provides a spark on the outside that we need so badly, and it's probably what we were looking for in the early days with him that we didn't quite get. But I think he's really blossomed under Ross. And if we're to make a deeper push into September in the coming years, I think he'll play a crucial role in that. And yeah, Cooper Sharman is an absolute star. I think he has got a big role to play in our forward line going forward. I think one-on-one he performs pretty well. Obviously, it'll be ideal if he could put a bit more size on, because he is playing pretty undersized against some of those key defenders. But yeah, he had a great performance, and he genuinely looked very dangerous. You could see the GWS defenders almost panicking after a while there, which they probably weren't with some of our other forwards, specifically Caminiti, who has had a great year of development, I think. But Saturday probably showed that he's probably needs maybe a bit of time in the twos, needs a bit more development before we can see him start to really dominate games. Not to take away from the year that he's had. I'm fully aware that he only got his spot on the list 6 weeks before the season started. So for what he's done, it's pretty extraordinary. But he was a pretty weak link in that forward line in the first half. But I'm keen to see where he goes going forward. But Saturday showed, Cooper probably should have had that spot over Hammer earlier in the year.
Yeah, I think you're right. Although Caminiti did take a good contested grab forward flank, got his hands on the got his mitt on the ball early. I would just, going into maybe some of the negatives now, do you think the lineup we went into the game was right and tactically? I feel like Philippou was awfully quiet throughout the entire game. And at least Caminiti provides an extra marking threat forward. I wonder if we made the right sub there. And I also think that, seeing the way Toby Green, this is obviously all in hindsight, seeing the way Toby Green attacked the ball, got 35 touches or something like that. Should Soccer have been in that side over maybe a Hunter Clark as a bit more defensive insurance? And I think, as Jakey touched on in the Saints TV Weekly today, Burns' speed was probably missed just because of that extra outside running. Needed a line breaker at times, and Hill was probably the only one that was offering that on Saturday. So do you think tactically we got it right?
Yeah, I think I was pretty happy with the lineup going into the game. I think Stocker, I would have loved to have seen him squeeze somewhere into the 22, because I've absolutely loved his year. He's one of my new favorite players. However, I think I preferred the class of Hunter Clark in that team over Stocker. Maybe obviously hindsight's a beautiful thing. I think everyone would have been putting Stocker in over a Clark, or even, I thought Windhager was pretty quiet, even putting him in over Windy. But no, I was mostly happy with the team. Obviously, Caminiti coming in was sort of out of the team's control. But Philippou, I think, I can die with him being in the team, because he's 18. He's played 24 games or something like that. I don't think he missed a game, which is extraordinary, really, I think. And I'm very happy with him to just continue developing the team. I don't want to sacrifice the short term for the long term. So I'm happy to have Philippou in the team, even if that may have cost us a little bit in an important game. I think I'm happy for him to be in the team. And when it comes to the sub, I think I'm correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Caminiti was a tactical sub, right?
Yeah, Caminiti was a tactical sub at halftime. Yep.
Yeah. I'm happy with that. He was having not really any positive impact. I don't think. I think his impact was negative, if anything. I think that he crashed into a pack, which where we could have taken marks, all sorts of things. He was probably putting himself in the wrong position. So I was happy taking him off. And yeah, I don't know. But what did you think of the lineup though? Did you think Stocker someone should have made way for Stocker?
Yeah. Well, after seeing the game, I think Hunter Clark probably was the one to miss, just because offering that midfield, he's very one-paced, beautiful by foot, and when he gets the ball, he rarely makes mistakes. But he is one-paced to that midfield, and especially when you had Ross, Crouch, and Steele as your three main midfielders, I don't think he was needed. But I think the bigger miss was not having Burns as probably the tactical sub, or at least in the team. So I feel like his run all season, he proved, especially in those first 10 rounds, got dropped and then came back into the side, got dropped again, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I think he just offered something a little bit different, and we will touch on it later, but I've seen a few comments already about Liam Henry. I think Ryan Burns could have offered something that what Liam Henry potentially is going to offer us next year should we get him this offseason, which I think no surprises we should. But yeah, we'll move on to something else now. Missed tackles. That's something I thought we really prided ourselves on. Sorry, tackling this year was something we really prided ourselves on this year. But a lot of missed tackles, and when Jade Gresham is your highest tackle player, I think it was 7 tackles or so. Yeah, I think there was a lot to be left on the table there. What do you think on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think GWS were just harder at the contest all day, which is something. Yeah, you're right. We definitely do pride ourselves on our tackling and our pressure, especially having a midfield so dominated by inside mids who are just bulls. You know, Seb Ross, Brad Crouch, Jack Steele, all those guys. I want to see them have at least 8 tackles. Not once again, not to hold them to a ridiculous standard, but that is what we pride ourselves on. That is that is Saints footy to a lot of us. So I think GWS did just look hungrier for the ball, which really hurts me to say because I don't know what much more the boys needed to get themselves fired up for that game. Our first final in Melbourne since 2011, our first final at the G since 2010, 65 odd thousand Saints fans in there. It was disappointing to see them not dig in sort of the way I felt like we had all year. And this is subjective. This is just how I saw the game, but I really felt like Ross was, hit the nail on the head in his presser. We got completely outclassed in the midfield, and that has probably exposed our weakest link. So, but however, the tackling is something that I feel like is still within our control. I feel like we can still chase, we can still bump, we can still put the pressure on, and that definitely felt like it was lacking. What do you think, though?
Yeah, no, I agree. Mr. DJ Rude Boy talked about the umpiring, but I don't like. Well, we won the free kick count, and whilst the umpiring's usually pretty ordinary. If you're not tackling, you're not giving the umpire a reason to blow their whistle. So if you want those holding the balls and you want them throwing and this and that, like you've got to stop the ball for a whistle to get blown. If the whistle just keeps staying out of their mouths, the ball's free flowing, and that means they've probably got a handle on the game. And you don't want to be relying on umpiring to win you a game. That never works.
So you also got to be first to the ball.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And I think that's probably the biggest strength though that we've got in the midfield. Like, yeah, we're one paced and probably don't have enough outside talent and speed, but if the ball gets locked in there, it's going to be tackled, it's going to be held up, and it's just going to keep being held up from Ross, Crouch, and Steele until we finally get the ball on the outside. So yeah, I think that's something. But then also the around the ground tackling was pretty woeful. They looked like they wanted to do whatever to us. And then just sort of on that, those high half forwards I think were also pretty quiet. Yeah, I know Higgins had the 16, 17 touches, but I'd rather see him have 10 touches and a couple goals or more pressure acts or whatever have you will. What do you think of the high half forwards sort of getting up the ground? I saw Dan Butler on a wing at times in the fourth quarter. So yeah, what do you think of their performances?
Yeah, I think also pretty disappointing because I'm not a coach and I don't know who's to blame for this, but the way they moved the ball out of our forward line was just way too easy. It felt like we would get it in and they'd have it out in about 5 to 10 seconds. It was that easy for them. I don't know if our half forwards weren't chasing enough. We just didn't put any pressure on them in our forward line, which ended in them getting it out pretty easily. And it didn't feel like until maybe late in the fourth where they were trying to exit it and Wilkie took a few intercepts, which that's a whole other thing with Wilkie's performance. But overall, I think we needed more chase. We needed more pressure from the whole team. Our forwards definitely got exposed for maybe not chasing their man out of the back line. The forward line. Whitfield. I know we put Sharman to him to try and nullify some of his impact, but it felt like him along with and Kelly just absolutely killed us. But they were just walking it out of the forward line, which was really disappointing to see. I wasn't too happy with Higgins or Butler's performance. I thought Butler chased all right, and Higgins was really quiet. He sort of seems to struggle if he can't get on the end of a few. He's a momentum player. He needs a goal or two to spark him, and he got one, but he just really never got going, which is disappointing to see because he's proven to us that he can be a 5-goal player. So yeah, disappointed by the forwards.
Yeah, I think you're right. It really sort of shows why maybe they were out of favour at Richmond as well. They, especially Higgins, he obviously didn't play in a premiership. Dan Butler had the 2017 one, but I think with efforts like that, he really showed that they're not the A grade sort of small forwards, the Paplys, the Camerons, Rochelle's, Rankins of the world. They I think, well, yeah, Dan Butler, as you said, the pressure acts, the relentless chasing, even if he isn't getting much of the ball in hand, he's creative in how he attacks it, and he's creative in how he sort of impacts the ball without directly having to have it. And then yeah, Gresham, Higgins plays a little bit more like Stephen Mill, and he's wants the goals and will do less chasing, but so long as there's a bigger return on the scoreboard, which I think we're all pretty comfortable with. You've got one more pressure player, one that hits the scoreboard, but when neither of them do their roles to their best of their ability, I think you get a pretty lackluster forward line. But on that note, we'll try and stay away from all the bad things now. That's hopefully that's it, Sainers. We do want to ask some questions though. Moving into the off season, we've had the exploration year. We've explored just about every inch of our list, from as you said, the Caminiti, who was picked up in February, to the older boys in Mason Wood and Rowan Marshall and them. Big questions moving into the off season, and I'll start with, what does our best midfield look like?
Yeah, well, I think the midfield needs a shake up. I'll be honest. I think it's a bit one dimensional. I think we don't have many layers in there. I think that there was a reason the club pursued Jordan De Goey so hard at the end of last year, because we need a player that can break away. And I thought Owens really looked like doing that on Saturday when we put him into the middle. I think Owens is dangerous all over the ground, but I really like the look of him in the middle. But ultimately, I think Steele, Crouch, and Ross, I don't know if we can run with that anymore. I like all three of them as individuals, but I don't know if the three of them together is the right mix for us. It doesn't feel like there's enough pace in there. We've got good pace on the outside, but within the middle, I think we need to probably inject some youth into there. And if we can pick up an A grade midfielder from in trade or free agency, whatever it is, I think we should definitely be pursuing that. But yeah, I want to see Mitch in there. I think Philippou, with more experience, can definitely be a good inside midfielder. Windhager, I'm hopeful for the future. I think we've got the youngsters to go in there, but I think we probably need that additional support from the outside. What do you think, though?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it looks like there's not as many midfielders on the market this season. Obviously, Parrish more likely to sign than not at Essendon, but Paddy Dow hopefully is one we can get. He's got real speed from stoppage. He's not probably a very fast player, but he's explosive, and that's precisely what we need. Just get the ball 5 to 8 strides out of the middle and kick the ball. That's exactly what we need. Someone that probably does it on a lesser extent is Zach Jones. Might not be as consistent and may not be a good a player as those line breakers in the game, but it is a bit of a shame we didn't get to see him this year just due to injury. But a player like Zach Jones, I think, really, really would help out and really balance the midfield. It might be a little bit of addition by subtraction. You maybe reduce Crouch or Seb Ross's time in the midfield to put more pace in there. But yeah, I think we're in agreement that just need to get different look in there. We've had Steele, Crouch, and Ross for the better part of 3 years. So time to see what Owens can do, see what Windhager can do, and Philippou probably in the coming years. So yeah, I think a midfield shake-up is definitely in order. Sanos, let us know what you think. We'll go through a few of your comments. Oh, thanks, Peter. Parrish signed last week at Essendon, so that puts that to bed. Lanky Laurie, good name. I think as Ari and I have said, we won't be a top 4 team with them in the predominant midfielders. And I did see one. Yeah, so we'll move on to the forward line now, Ari. It was sad to hear about Tim Membry. We didn't touch on him before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Hopefully, he's all right and he's getting the help he needs, and maybe a little bit of time away from the club might aid that a bit. But yeah, that was a bit sad to hear about Tim Membry. What was your initial sort of reaction when you saw that Caminiti was into the side and not Tim Membry?
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, thoughts with Tim and his family. I hope everyone's going okay. And yeah, Tim's an absolute star for our club, and we love him. Hope to see him back soon. But yeah, in terms of for the actual game, it was, alarm bells were ringing immediately because, like we mentioned, we really needed a threat up forward, and we were severely lacking that. I mean, Cooper Sharman was our biggest threat. King was good as well. He wasn't poor, he wasn't great, but he was solid, I thought. But yeah, alarm bells were definitely ringing. I think Membry was sorely missed. But in saying that, I don't think the result would have been different if he played. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think Cooper Sharman fills the Tim Membry role really well, but to me, Tim Membry's a third tall, not a second tall at this point in his career. So yeah,
Yeah.
Caminiti it was sort of the one that needed to step up. But yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, didn't realize Caminiti was on the emergencies, and then
Yeah.
Jake posted it, and I've gone, oh, he's a part of the 26-man rotation or whatever, and yeah, I'm thinking, oh shit, it must be pretty serious if we've had to get special approval for it. But yeah, I think also seeing Tim Membry a little bit out of the side, given the likes of Caminiti and Sharman to prove themselves in this forward line. And yeah, it's going to be a real headache for Robert Harvey, especially this preseason, or a good headache for Robert Harvey this preseason, and one for Ross Lyon as well, to see where our best forward line is. Who are the main tools you reckon that will be, well, the three prominent tools that will be in our forward line next year, Ari?
If all goes well, and if all sort of stays on course, I'm really hoping to see King, Hayes, and Membry. I think those are our three best key forwards. I love what Hayes offers with giving Rowe a chop out. I think he can compete very well in the ruck, and I think around the ground he's great. And we really have not seen much of him. We saw 6 or 7 games last year, and then just the one this year. But he was great. I'll never forget that game against Collingwood in his debut, him kicking 3 goals, getting us back into the game.
Oh,
Obviously, we lost, but I think I think Hazy has the potential to be a player that just plays their role really in a solid way for us. And King obviously, and Membry, I think he's getting a bit older, but I think he can still definitely play a part in this team. And people forget how good he can be. And if the side is going to see some success soon, no one deserves that more than someone like the likes of Tim Membry.
yeah, I think you've got a few supporters on that as well. Actually agrees. King, Hayes, and Skunk. Bem's made a really good point. The amount of times players spoiled each other in the first half showed the importance of Membry. Yeah, because even if he's not getting his hands to the ball, or he's a bit quiet, this or that, he's a general. He rallies the troops. He gets everyone where they needs to be, and that's intangible. You don't need to have 10. You don't need to have 20 disposals to have that sort of impact on a forward line. And yeah, I think as Nagar's just said, Sharman's announced himself on the big league.
Yeah, of course.
He is
Definitely.
absolutely shown he deserves to play AFL level, not just as an inconsistent fringe player, but as a best 22 player. But then also it'd be nice to have Tim Membry's experience in that team, because I feel like Tim Membry and Cooper Sharman can be very, very similar players. Both not undersized. Well, Tim Membry's a bit more undersized than Cooper Sharman, but that sort of second, third tall that's a little bit undersized, but works their ass off up and down the ground, taking marks and getting a lot of touches. So yeah, I think Sharman's a perfect substitute for Membry next year, and hopefully they get to play in the same team, because that'd be really exciting.
Yeah. No, Sharman definitely has a place on the list and in the team going forward. I think we've all known that for a few years now. If you watch that game against Freo 2 or so years ago, after picking him up in the mid-season draft, kicks 4 goals in an AFL game. Like, yeah, he's got serious talent. So I hope to see him in the 22 going forward for sure.
Yeah, and again, another really interesting comment from Ben. It goes back to what we said about the midfield. It all depends if Owens can play midfield. If we can push Sharman into the team, Hayes, King, Membry, it's a great headache to have, because you've got all these really important players that can mark the ball, which I think Ross has sort of shown this year he wants to play that chip mark game and then sort of break lines when the defense gets a bit stagnant. So yeah, I think that'd be really interesting to see. Imagine having someone like a Mason Wood in the year he's had on a wing and floating down back and forward, and you've got Sharman playing that high half forward. You've got Target. It's really cool to think about. And I think there's going to be a lot of internal development from the younger guys, especially those that played 15 to 20 games this year. So yeah, very exciting stuff in the off season to come. Definitely. Now the big question: who stays? Who goes? It's Ross has said a lot about the list already, so that sort of leans to a few more players probably being either traded for draft picks or being delisted. We might start off with one of the bigger names. Hasn't really got a clean luck the last 2 years with injuries and probably hasn't been favoured in the side when he is healthy. Jack Billings, where do you stand with Jack Billings? Ari and Sane has let us know where you stand with Jack Billings at the moment.
Yeah. It's tough with Jack because he's been with the club in a pretty rough period, it's fair to say, and he's experienced a lot of the lows with us. I rate Jack Billings. I think I always have. He's a little undersized. He's never really solidified himself in any position, but I really think there's a spot for him in our forward line. I love the look of him playing as a small to medium sized forward, whether that's in the pocket or across the half forward line. I really think there is a place for him on the list and in the team. Whether he has maybe fallen out of favor with Ross and there's some value to his name, maybe that's something we should explore because, we are looking to get ourselves back into the draft. And if he can help in doing that and he's not looking like being in the 22, then I'd be happy for the, Sauce and co to explore that avenue. But I think ultimately a lot of the guys we'll talk about, I would love to see them all stay in Saints Guernseys, and Billings included. But it really depends on what's out there for him, what we could get and what we actually plan on doing with him. But if it was up to me, if I'm the list manager, I'd be signing him on for 1 or 2 more years.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm in the opposing view. Not because I'm a hater on Jack Billings or I dislike Jack Billings. I just think he needs to be in an environment where his talents, praised and valued. Because I think he sort of lost his edge a bit. We've thrown him in the forward line, we've thrown him in the midfield. He's played sometimes at halfback. Probably had one of his better seasons on the wing in 2020. I think he's just sort of lost his edge, and he's a bit lost in our sort of system. He's a bit lost in our age demographic as well. We're at that point in time where we're looking for guys maybe in that 22 to 24 region. So in 3 years' time, they'll be hitting their prime, not currently in their prime. So for Jack's sake, I reckon I'd like to see him go to somewhere where he's valued. As much as I hate to see him go to the Cats, I feel like Geelong could get something out of him, or maybe in Essendon. He's been linked there in the past. But I'd like to see Jack Billings play playing AFL level footy next year. Just I don't think it will be with us. Which moves us on to the next. Dale agrees with me. He'd be perfect for Geelong. Don't say that, Dale. That was just me speaking.
I don't want to see any Saints players in a Geelong Guernsey. Thanks, but
yeah, exactly. As mentioned a few times by some of the Saints, I'll try and pull up a comment that I just saw before. The big question is, anyway, I can't find the comment. Re-comment it, guys. Hunter Clark, he's the biggest one. He's probably played the most games of the guys that are rumoured to leave at the end of the off-season. I hope he stays. We've invested so much in him. He's just had a poor run with injuries through no fault of his own. It's not like they're soft tissue injuries or their ACL. They're just all impact injuries. So, yeah, what do you think on Hunter Clark?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. He's had a horrid run of luck. And I'm looking at a list now of every Saints player that doesn't have a contract going into next year. And he is the one I want to stay the most. I think we have not even seen close to his best. I think he's got extraordinary upside, good potential. He's still very young. Don't forget, he's a top 10 draft pick. Not that necessarily means anything, but it's a pretty good indicator of where he was seen within, his age group, obviously. But I think he is the number one that I'd be getting his signature, whether that's, a 2 or 3 year contract. I'd maybe just want him for 2, see how it all goes from there. But he's been horrifically unlucky. I think in the right regime, he can really shine. And I would really hate if we saw him shine, but it wasn't in a Saints Guernsey. I would be putting getting his signature ASAP.
Yeah, I agree. Chris agrees as well, and so does Ashley. Hunter does stay, I reckon. Best made a good point. Hopefully Lenny can get a hold of him, see some more progress. I think the biggest thing that Hunter's got to work on, not his foot skills, not his hand skills. I think it's just his running capacity. He's maybe, it's very hard to work on your speed in one off season, or your acceleration in one off season. But I'd love to see him being played more on a wing, because yes, he's great at halfback and he's a bit more of a general. He's good kick, but I'd love to see him making those inside 50 kicks, because can kick him both left foot and right foot, and it's where we've really struggled. That's been our Achilles heel outside of our midfield in terms of game plan, or maybe not even game plan, just skill errors. Can't kick the ball inside 50. So Brad Hill, Hunter Clark, those sort of Jack Sinclair, Nasai Wanganeen-Malira, get them the ball as high up the ground as you can without getting inside 50 to make those last effort kicks to the forwards. And I think that's where Hunter Clark needs to have a good preseason in. Just get him as much practice kicking to our forwards, because I reckon he'll be a weapon if he's able to play in a role that's sort of similar to that.
Yeah,
Moving on.
He's got elite ball skills, which is what we were missing on Saturday. I really feel like, and I know he was playing and he didn't probably rise to the occasion, but I think give him a year or two and he could be, an integral part of this list.
Yeah, he's still young. He's only 22, 23 years old.
Exactly. Yeah.
If that. So, yeah, he's definitely not someone you want to give up on. Unlike Jono reckons, is Jones or Zachy Jones done? Few hamstring tears. He's had a history of soft tissue, and I think he'd be on the worst side of 30, I'm pretty sure now. But yeah, I don't know what to think of Zach Jones if we keep him or get rid of him at the end of the off season. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's going to be one of those unfortunate ones where he probably will have to just make way for a younger player. I really hope another club picks him up, and I'd love to see him shine at the AFL level still. But I think, given his age, how injury prone he's been, it's probably a space on the list that he's going to have to vacate, which is really unfortunate, because at his best, he's played some bloody good footy. I think we all remember that game against Hawthorn, maybe in 2021, where he had, 40 odd touches, 10 tackles. Like, his best footy is fantastic, but yeah, unfortunately with that age and how injury prone he's become, I think it's not looking too good for Zachy Jones.
Yeah, I think you tend to agree. I agree. Sorry, Nick. Sorry, yeah, I just looked it up then. Zach Jones is only 28, so it just feels like he's a lot older, probably because he's been around the system for some time. But yeah, I think you're right. His best footy is really exactly what we need. You think, yeah, that Hawks game, he had 30-something touches, won the was it the Clyde medal? Anyway, whatever the medal is they give out at the Saints Hawthorn game. And yeah, he's someone that, yeah, I think especially because he hasn't played a lot, you don't really miss out on seeing next year. Another team can get him up for very, very cheap and have a gamble on him. But yeah, it's really interesting, those sort of players. Like, I know everyone loves Dan McKenzie, and I think he'll get another contract. But he also has been pretty injury prone his entire career. He bobbed up last year especially, he was unreal, and maybe even the year before that. But yeah, I just think those players in the 27, 29 range, they haven't played a lot of footy in the last year or so. I don't think that's the sort of players that Ross wants to keep around this off season. So look, it's going to be heartbreaking. It really is this off season.
Yeah, there's going to be a few tough calls for sure.
Yeah, because it's there doesn't seem to be the big trade season that they're expecting, like they did last year. They had over 40 players move. They're anticipating, and when I say they're calculating Cal Toomey. Only expect around 20, 25 players to be moving. I've got a funny feeling a lot of those are going to be Saints players. But on a positive note, and something that's maybe always a bit exciting to talk about is the free agents, just because we all like to dream and dare to hope. Biggest one, obviously, throughout the week, Liam Henry has nominated St Kilda as the team of choice. I think he's exactly what we need. 22 years old, half forward / winger role. He's got great speed, and yeah, he just seems like he fits the mold of what we need. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I agree. Perfect age, perfect player. I think I'd be a little nervous if I was Jack Higgins or Dan Butler right about now, because he's definitely coming for your spot if we can get that trade done. And then hopefully, as his career progresses, he can move into the midfield, play on a wing. If I haven't watched too much of Liam Henry, but I think he's got the class that we need, and yeah, really not a perfect fit, but definitely a higher preference for us. And if he's not a free agent, I don't think. Oh, actually, I'm not too sure. I've heard both.
He's out of contract, so if
Okay.
so if Freo don't trade him before the end of whatever free agency ends, he'll be in the whatever they call it, the draft, where anyone can pick him up. So
Got you.
he's out of contract player.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Well, I think the club's got to get to getting that done. However, don't pay overs. Please don't pay overs for Liam Henry. I think he's a great player, and we want him on the list. But let's not give away anything ridiculous.
Yeah, agree. I think I heard something that Freo are expecting pick 15 to 25 for him. We've currently got pick 13, probably, or maybe pick 12, and it might move to 13 with compensation for Ben Mackay. But yeah, I think some of the guys that we touched on before is Zach Jones worth a 4th round pick now. Is Jack Billings worth a 3rd or a 4th round pick? Like, I think a lot of our currency is going to come from just collecting a whole bunch of 3rd to 3rd round picks onwards. We might throw 2 picks in the 30s and a next year 2nd rounder or something like that to try and get something in the low 20s, high teens. So I don't think it's going to be a straight swap with our current draft capital for Liam Henry. I think we're going to have to make a couple moves to get that done. Sorry, just going through. Does Jade Gresham still have currency after how he's played? Because I know Carlton was really interested in him in the first half of the year, but it seems like those whispers have gone away.
I think he has currency. I think it's probably lowered throughout the season, which is unfortunate. Man, Gresham's been a talking point all year. I feel bad for the bloke, honestly, but he's been talked about that many times, whether he's moving or staying. I don't know I don't even know what to think. I don't know if I want him to stay. I don't know if I want him to go. Where are you standing with it all?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if Ben Mackay is worth $800,000 and worth a 3rd pick in the bloody draft, and you think Jade Gresham would be worth a top 10 pick, but no, I don't know. I think it's as you said, it's been really hard for Gresham because his best footy is great footy. It's up there with some of the best in the league, but it's probably a little bit inconsistent, much like his career has gone, I guess. But I think he's also had I wouldn't say an underrated season, but an overhated season. If that's a way.
I definitely agree with you there. Yeah.
Because he's just been under so much scrutiny that anytime he makes a mistake, it's he's smashed for it. But anytime he does something good, which is been more times than not, he's not a terrible player. Otherwise, he wouldn't be playing. He doesn't get nearly the amount of reward or applause from the fan base that he does. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think if a team wants him for the right price, we'll let him go. But more importantly, I think if he wants anything in excess of 750K, then I think it's best for us to let him go. He's not worth that after the last couple of years, I reckon. Yeah,
no, I think if we can get him on the right contract, I would love to see him stay. But I'm not paying 750,000 for Gresham, unfortunately. But if another club offers him that, he'd be silly not to take it. So I mean, I'm not saying I don't understand where he's at with it all, but yeah, I mean, I'd like to see him stay, but on the right terms.
Yeah, I think Richard's made a really interesting comment here. Ollie Houghton coming on should take his role. Yeah, Ollie Houghton sort of very similar size to Jade Gresham, about 5'10", 5'11". Plays a little bit of pinch hitting in the midfield, and then as mainly a high half forward, small forward kind of role. I know he's not probably a household name yet. I did go to school with him, so he's a local boy. I know he's a Saints kid at heart, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we can get some development from Houghton. And yeah, he's pretty exciting. Just had a stress fracture in his back this year, so probably didn't get to see him as much at VFL level. Which also just reminds me of someone. We seen a lot of rumours about Dougal Howard potentially leaving and this and that. When was the last time, Ari, you can remember Saints having a fullback that we drafted? Because there's one off the top of my head right now that I'm really excited for in the next couple of years.
Are you referencing Oscar Adams?
No, I'm actually referencing James Van Ness.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more, because I'm not sure about Dougal. It's very complicated with the whole Zane Cordy situation, but yeah, tell me about the young key defenders on the list, because I'm not too familiar.
Yeah, so I think Oscar Adams, he'll probably be like a Sam Alabakis. He'll probably make way this year. Hasn't played a game, had a few years at the club, and he's uncontracted. But yeah, who would have thought we'd be saying at the start of the year Zane Cordy's our fullback in September?
Yeah.
Like,
oh boy.
I don't know. I reckon like Zane Cordy had to be like my dad and I's most not hated, but definitely most like what the fuck are we sort of doing? Pardon my language, guys.
Completely agree.
Like he was just like he was playing full forward, and then you go, he's only kicked 14 career goals, and he can't kick a ball more than 35 meters consistently, and you go, oh yeah, he's kicked 7 goals in 7 games or something like that, and then goes out the side. Dougal Howard breaks his wrist, and you go, oi, Cordy, we need you, and then he becomes probably one of our I don't know, pillars in the back line for the last 6-7 rounds.
Yeah, no, it was. What a strange tale Zane Cordy can tell of his 2023 season. I think honestly, I'm definitely not a hater or anything, but when we signed him, I just thought, what are we doing 3 years for Zane Cordy? You've got to be kidding me! Like a backup key defender that we don't even want that much. I was just baffled by the decision. Then him playing over Sharman in the first 6-7 weeks, I could not get a grip on it. But we kept winning, so I couldn't really complain. But yeah, I really never rated Cordy at all. I honestly just thought, why did we sign him for 3 years? Now we're just stuck with him. But then, yeah, what do you know? Dougal Howard breaks his wrist and he comes in and he played a pivotal role. He was great. There was a few games where, yeah, you got to give him credit because he really lifted. And man, he, to the point where he took Dougal's spot in the last round of in the final, which is just I never would have seen that coming. But in hindsight, maybe some Saints fans would have switched that. I don't know, but he earned his spot, and he'll continue to play a role for the team, whether that's a backup key defender or a key defender in the team.
Yeah, agree. I'm really interested to see if Cordy and Howard can play in the same defensive 50, because that's the only thing we probably didn't trial in our backline. Not that we needed to, because Battle, Wilkie, and Howard / Cordy were the unreal, and yeah, our defense held up all year, but definitely something that we could experiment. I think, Howard, much like Gresham's, probably got a lot of slander the last 12 months or so. I don't think he hasn't played horrible footy. It just hasn't been up to probably the standard that we wanted him to, which is, again, a pretty high standard. This is also a guy we're talking about that led the league in 1%ers, or was a top 5 getter in 1%ers the last 2 years in 2021 and 2022. So he's by no means a scrub. So yeah, I really hope we hold on to Howard, because the alternative is we are stuck with Cordy as our fullback the entire year with zero insurance, because I don't think James Van Ness plays next year. I think he's still got a lot of development to do, but he looks very, very promising. My dad's been to a few VFL games this year. He just lives right around the corner from Trevor Barker. So yeah, he reckons James Van Ness is everything that he could be hyped up to be. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see with the fullback shuffle, Ben Mackay, what's his name, Tom Duday, and I think Barras is staying now. But there's a fair few fullbacks. What's the Essendon bloke's name? I think there's a Z in it, maybe. I'm not sure.
Zerk Thatcher.
Zerk Thatcher, yeah. It'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see where all the fullbacks end up, and hopefully
yeah,
Dougal Howard's not, um, Dougal Howard's not a part of that big merry-go-round. But yeah, again, very exciting. We've got options in the back line, and competing for spots is always a good thing, I reckon, in teams that want to be playing finals and pushing for success. So
yeah.
yes. Now, probably the last question before we wrap up the show, because obviously there's no preview to talk about. We are done with the season. Where does the biggest improvement come from? Is it internal? Do we look for outside talent? As we mentioned, Liam Henry, Paddy Dow, potentially even Marbio Chol, we could get from Gold Coast. Or is it the senior players lifting still, maybe one of them that didn't have an amazing season? Is it players like that, Gresham, if he comes back, or whoever have you be? So where does the biggest improvement come from?
It's got to be from our youth, I reckon. You look at Filippo, Wangani Malera, Owens, Windhager, Caminiti, the list goes on. We've got a lot of young talent, which is still, very raw. They're still puppies, as Ross would say. There's a lot of promising youth on this list, and I think we got it to the success that we're all looking for is going to be found through those youngsters, and I want to see them continue to play. In terms of the outside talent, I definitely think we should be bringing in some A graders if we can. I think Liam Henry would be a good pickup. Not saying he's an A grader, but if we can find someone to give us a plan B in the midfield, I think that would be great. Obviously, would be good if Steele lifted a bit as well after probably not his best of years, but all in all, yeah, hand the reins over to the youngsters. Nasai Wangani Malera, Mitch Owens, they're going to take over next year, and I hope when we see the STK premiers, if we do see that, I think players like them will be in that team. So yeah, how about you? What are you thinking?
Yeah, agree. And I've seen a few comments. Mr. DJ Rudeboy reckons we'll improve from the draft. Yeah, currently got that pick 12 or 13. Hopefully it stays around that sort of range. And I think we'll try. I think we'll do our best to try and draft a Bayside kid. We've drafted a lot of out-of-state talent in previous years. Cooper Sharman from Adelaide, obviously. Mateus Philippou from Adelaide. Nasai Wangani Malera from Adelaide. Yeah. So I think we'll try and get a lot of James Van Ness is another one from Adelaide. We'll try and get a few more, I think, Bayside kids in. And I think if he falls to us, I think a Zane Dersma would be really interesting. He's brother of Xavier Dersma at Port Adelaide, projected in that sort of top 10, but hopefully he falls out of the top 10 picks. I think he'll be really interesting. Beth reckons we need to kick more goals. Well,
not a bad point.
That would be nice. Dale reckons that as well. Guy reckons mid to forward entries. That's the issue. Yeah,
I agree.
I think our transition from defensive 50 to offensive 50 is unreal, but then that last kick to get it inside the forward 50 is, yeah, as you mentioned, not amazing. Nagar reckons midfield improvement is key and get to the draft. Yeah, I agree. Bem internal. Yeah, I think you're right. We played the most teenagers ever, I think. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Hopefully, Bem's usually pretty right in his facts. So yeah, I reckon.
No, there was a stat in the Herald Sun or something saying that it was the most games a club has played. The most games a club has played players 19 and below since like 1980 or something. So
okay.
Yeah, something like that. Don't quote me, but it was we've blooded a lot of youngsters.
Yeah, well, Machida Owens and Marcus Windhager started the season at 19 years old, and Philippou was 18, and Caminiti I think was 18 or 19 when the season started. So definitely. It's funny because you think 3 years ago everyone's bagging us for not having the next crop of talent. We all had 25 to 27-year-olds on the list, and we've got one of the youngest and brightest futures of any team in the comp, I reckon, with probably the exception of Hawthorn at that stage.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, I didn't actually give an answer. I'm in agreement with you. I reckon our improvement comes from the youngsters. Naz gets another year at halfback, potentially pushing for an All-Australian 44-man squad. Machida Owens, hopefully he goes in the midfield and becomes that mid-forward hybrid. Marcus Windhager as well. Ronnie Burns is still really young. King's only 22. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of development from those younger guys just to solidify themselves in the best 22. Dale's offered a good question. Will Isaac Keeler play next year?
Oh, if he can find some form in the VFL and there's a room for him, I'd love to see, what he's got. All those youngsters that haven't played, Angus McLean, Max Heath, Paris, I know he's played a game, but Ollie Hodden, as you mentioned earlier, I'd love to have a look at all those guys if they can find some form at Sandy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I really like Isaac Keeler. He's a really interesting pickup. Moves very similar to like a really young Paddy Ryder, just got a lot of finesse around the goals, and you usually see him bob up for 2 or 3 goals in VFL when he pushes forward, obviously splitting that ruck time with Max Heath. But yeah, as we know, rucks take a fair while to develop. They got to put on a lot of weight. They got to get yeah, exactly. It's less running and more time spent in the lunchroom, I reckon.
That's it.
Hopefully those Saints Angels are feeding them well. Max Heath, Isaac Keeler, James Van Ness, put some weight on, boys, and yeah, hopefully we see them in the best 22. Maybe I was lying. Last question of the night.
Yep.
Last question: can Wanganeen Malira win the BNF next year? I'm guessing that's for next year because you think there's a lock for this year, but
yeah.
Shit, that would be a great call, I reckon. He could definitely finish top 5.
Yeah. I think he can finish high this year. He won't win it this year, but yeah, next year. You said 44-man squad, All-Australian. I can see him in the 22. Put him on a halfback with Sinks. How good would that be? Wilkie in fullback, Sinks on halfback, Naz on the other halfback. Yeah, him and Mitch are ready to tear the competition apart, I reckon. So I'm very keen to see where they go next year. And absolutely, you could win the best and fairest. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I think you're right. Naz and Owens are up and ready to take over. I feel like Port Adelaide's 2018 draft, very similar to our 2021 draft, or 2021, where we got Owens, Windhager, and Nasiah Wanganeen Malira. Them obviously getting Butters, Dersma, and Connor Rosie. I reckon that's us in 2 years' time. We'll just be talking about we nailed that draft pick. I think it was number 10 for Nasiah, and then mid to late 30s for Owens and Windhager. So hopefully the young boys really step up next year, and we've got a lot of excitement to go with Saints TV and prove to everyone that this year wasn't a fluke.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, all in all, we just like I said at the start of the episode, we just can't have this year be all for nothing. It can't just be a finals appearance that, came from thin air and we didn't move on with. We got to use it as a platform going forward. And I think we will. I really believe we will. We got to make finals again next year and start pushing for the top 4 so we can start contending for premierships. Are we ready next year? Maybe not. But in the years to come, we'll start to see ourselves there if we continue on this current trajectory. And, I trust the current coaches, the playing list. It needs some improvement, but we're on the right path. And I mean, what a year of Saints footy. No one can ever take away that Saints Geelong game from us, or the Saints Essendon, 150th anniversary. So good year of Saints footy, and really proud of the boys and the club. Breaking the membership record. How good. 2 All-Australians. Yeah, great year.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice note to end on. And you're spot on. So Ari, thank you for joining. Hopefully you get to see a bit more of you on Saints TV, and who knows, maybe Jordan's out of a job next week. So Jordan,
Jordan will be back, and thanks for having me, Max. It's been so much fun. We'll keep in touch. Hopefully see you very soon.
Yeah, awesome. We'll do, absolutely. So we'll leave it there, Sainers. Just a reminder, check out the podcast that drops in about 36 minutes, if my clock is correct. And check out Saints TV Weekly. The Saints reviews up, and there'll be a bit more content out this week. Also keep an eye out for the AFLW podcast. I believe that will drop either Tuesday or Wednesday night. As always, thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Monday night and have a great week.